It just got very real for the Houston Rockets as the Milwaukee Bucks have waived Damian Lillard, which brings into question whether or not Giannis will be on the Milwaukee Bucks next season and the possibility of him coming to the Houston Rockets. We give you the details as to why that is and what would be a generational run for GM Rafael Stone in that Houston Rockets front office this offseason to potentially land both Kevin Durant and Giannis in one offseason is truly remarkable. But we're going to give you all the details on that. For Rockets Digest, I am Donovan Ricondo. We appreciate you joining us here today. If you want to stay up to date on all of your news this entire offseason and, of course, the regular season and postseason, this is the place you want to be tuned into. We are quickly growing, and we'd love for you to join us right here on YouTube. Now, Charania has dropped probably the most unexpected news this entire offseason. The Milwaukee Bucks are waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million on his contract in order to acquire Myles Turner, sources tell ESPN. As many of you know, Lillard was rehabilitating a torn Achilles tendon. His status for next year was he was going to return just very late in the season. And so that is one side of it for the Milwaukee Bucks. On the other hand, I just can't believe that they would do this, that they would go ahead and release one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. You just traded for Damian Lillard 2 seasons ago. You gave up a lot, and now you are simply waiving him to acquire Myles Turner, who is a solid NBA player, but at the same time, on the leaning end of his career, is not going to play for much longer. He signed a 4-year contract, so we'll see how that holds up. But it is just a crazy move to begin with by the Milwaukee Bucks that has just sent the NBA world in a frenzy. And the Bucks had visions of attempting to acquire Turner, but had no pathway due to their salary restrictions. But Horst and Brown huddled on Monday and Tuesday to create an opening. Now, here's the other thing that intrigues me in this entire story, right? Turner and Antetokounmpo both valued the opportunity to partner on the court during the process, sources told ESPN. So Antetokounmpo likes the idea of playing with Turner. He is a valuable asset to that team. There's no question about that necessarily. But the means of which they did it was waiving Damian Lillard to make that happen. That is kind of not the best move to make if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. I understand he's hurt, but at the same time, it's Damian Lillard. This is a bona fide baller in the NBA, and you're going to give your number 2 guy to get a big like Myles Turner. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And if you ask Giannis Antetokounmpo, it doesn't make a lot of sense to him either, because this is the kicker news today for Houston Rockets fans. Giannis, and this isn't just Crispy Hanks, this is a lot of different people. Giannis is not happy with the Bucks' decision to release Damian Lillard. That's per Crispy Haynes. We've seen a lot of the same reports from a lot of other reporters. And so hearing that is a little bit of an indication. Okay, is a trade possibly coming for the Houston Rockets? Is it going to happen? And Brian Windhorst, and I broke this down a little bit earlier today, talking about a potential Giannis coming to Houston. And Brian Windhorst had this to say on Get Up yesterday, saying teams like San Antonio or Houston or Miami or New York, they specifically have stayed out of other major transactions, and in Houston's case, saved assets in the Durant trade to potentially chase Giannis. And this just puts the Rockets in a prime position to make such a trade, right? They already had a lot of assets going in, prior to free agency of players they could possibly trade for Giannis. Of course, they also have first round picks that they can give up as well. After yesterday's, free agency, they have a lot more room to do that, right? Like you can still make a trade, but you still have the players that you have invested in, right? Like Dorian Finney-Smith, a great signing for the Houston Rockets. Him possibly being the guy that's going to substitute for Dylan Brooks' minutes, right? Signing Clint Capella, returning him to Houston on a sign and trade with the Atlanta Hawks. And so I look at the roster, and it, quite frankly, in my opinion, is already a championship team caliber roster. Like, I do think you can get it done with the guys listed on here. Now, these are a lot of guys. And again, you have more assets to make a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade. And looking here, right, you can totally make it happen if you include also those first round picks from your draft capital for the next 5 years. And so it's all going to be very interesting to see how the Rockets play this situation. Are they going to do the same thing with the Kevin Durant trade, right, where they used leverage that they had? Kevin Durant did not want to be in Phoenix. Everybody knew he did not want to be in Phoenix. And so what the Rockets did, they just waited it out. They were going to wait and see if the Phoenix Suns' price came down, and it did. And now if Milwaukee is in that exact same boat where Giannis does not want to be there, he is not pleased with trading Damian Lillard, how is this going to be a team that is going to compete for a championship? And so now you can also use that same leverage. You can say, hey, we're very interested in Giannis. Here is what we're offering. And then if that price slowly comes down, and of course, make a trade. You can make that happen. Now, it's going to be a fierce competition for Giannis, right? He's one of the best players in the NBA, top 3 in the NBA. We have teams like the Knicks who are very, very interested, team like the Spurs who are interested, team like the Heat. And so the competition, in my opinion, is a little bit higher for Giannis than Kevin Durant. And I think that is kind of obvious, right? Giannis is, again, top 3 player, KD 37. Giannis still has a plenty of time to, play in the NBA. And so it's all interesting to see how all of that goes and plays out. Now, will that happen? That remains to be a question, right? Because in a potential Giannis trade, you're looking at potentially trading a guy like Şengün. Now, some people would be opposed to that. Some people love Şengün. Some people would not be opposed to that. You're getting a top 3 player in the NBA. You're possibly teaming him up with Kevin Durant. And so considering all of those things, it's going to be very interesting to see what the Rockets do in terms of all of that. Now, Brian Windhorst also pointed, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier, saying, quote, and the reason they did that was because they are not sure that Giannis is going to look at the Bucks and think that's a team that could compete either, right? And so when I see that, I understand that Giannis can look at this team and say, like, why did we give up Damian Lillard? I feel like he was a key piece in our championship aspirations. Yes, Myles Turner is great, but at the same time, is that a move that makes a lot of sense? And if you ask me, that not really, right? Damian Lillard was the guy you traded for because you thought he was going to be that key piece in your championship aspirations, and now you're backtracking on that. And so this could all lead to Giannis and KD teaming up in Houston next season. Now, is this very likely? We're unsure, right? There's a lot of things at play here. I feel like the Rockets are going to be patient. They're going to wait. This is still a development with Giannis. I expect this to, take its time. Everything is going to play out the way it does. But if the opportunity comes, there is no doubt in my mind that Rafael Stone, this front office, is going to strike when that time comes. It's just a matter of when. Giannis can be traded this offseason. But Nick Wright, I think the other day, mentioned how that could possibly wait until the trade deadline of next season. But regardless, right, this opportunity is still in play for the Houston Rockets. And I just want to commend the front office for even being in this situation where you have the assets to make that deal and make one of the most dominating starting fives in the NBA, uniting 2 Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, in that process. And so I want you guys all to let me know, right? Would you be happy if the Rockets traded for Giannis? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that's a good deal to make? Even if it includes Şengün, or if it includes, some other valuable players like Amen Thompson, or, I know a lot of you guys are high on Cam Whitmore, although he's probably on the trading block this offseason. A new video for that is to be updated soon. So let me know in the comments, would you be happy if the Rockets made the trade, if they pulled the trigger on Giannis Antetokounmpo. Well, this has been another episode of Rockets Digest. As always, it was great to be here. If you have not subscribed already, go ahead, hit that button below. We'll see you on the next one. Adios.